Hey guys, and welcome back to week number 5 of October and week number 1 of our brand new series called Moving On. It's a 3-week series all about forgiveness. All right guys, I'm gonna send you off into the teaching video and I'll be here right again after to ask a few small group questions. Enjoy.
Hey friends, I'm Ashley, and today we're gonna be talking about forgiveness. But before we jump in, I wanna tell you a story. So when I was in middle school, I had an obsession over this band called B2K. I had all of their posters, all of their CDs. If you don't know what a CD is, it's how we used to listen to music back when I was in middle school. I used to have the hats, the dance moves down pat, like they were my favorite band ever. And then they decided to break up so that they can do their solo careers. Let me tell you, this fan, I was devastated. I was crushed. I was hurt. I was so upset. I didn't even listen to their other music that they put out. And chances are you've not only experienced something small or silly that was hard to move on from like I did, but I bet you've probably gone through some things that were really painful and hard to move on from too. Things that hurt or disappointed you. Things that you didn't expect. Things that were ultimately hard to forgive. Now, if you're anything like me, forgiveness doesn't always come easy. Forgiving and moving on might seem like it should be simple, but for some reason it's just not. The truth is, forgiveness takes more than a moment. When we talk about this idea of forgiveness, we're talking about letting go of negative feelings that we have towards someone who's hurt, harmed, or disappointed us, regardless of whether they actually deserve it or even want our forgiveness. Now that sounds pretty good, right? But feelings of betrayal or hurt or anger, feelings of being wronged or let down, the desire to pay someone back for what they've done, who wouldn't want to let go of negative thoughts and emotions like those? If only they were that easy. Honestly, sometimes the stuff we find ourselves needing to forgive just isn't that easy to let go of and move on from. Maybe you're dealing with a fight with a friend, or maybe you're really hurt because your older sister lied about some not so great choices that she was making. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to think about what that thing is for you. What's something that has hurt you? Maybe you've been left out, uninvited, disappointed, made fun of, lied to, or heartbroken. And even if it happened weeks, months, or even years ago, when you think about it, it still hurts. For whatever reason, you just can't seem to move on. Or maybe if you've been hurt or disappointed by someone or something, you really have no idea what to do next. How are you supposed to feel? And what does it even mean to move on? That whole idea of forgiving them kind of feels confusing to you. Well, the truth is we've all been there before. And unfortunately, we'll all probably be there again. Because sometimes people hurt us. They fight with us. They embarrass us. They disappoint us. They end a relationship with us. They break our trust. And as a result, we feel stuck because we're hurt or angry or sad. So what do we do then? Well, some of us pretend that we're okay, even though we're definitely not. And others of us try to get back at the person who hurt us. Some of us even say things that we should not say. We lose our tempers or take it out on other people. Others of us try to ignore what we feel by distracting ourselves. Maybe we put our AirPods in and tune everything else out, or watch TikTok for hours to take our minds off of what we're really feeling. But here's the thing. No matter what you do to deal with what hurt you, it doesn't actually work. No matter how hard you try, it's not gonna help you move on. Sure, you might feel better for a moment, but the feelings are still there. And that's really hard because ultimately those feelings only hurt you. You're the one holding on to the pain, not the other person. You're the one struggling because you can't move on. But what if I told you there was another option? What if there was really a way for you to forgive and move on? Now, I want to tell you about a guy named Paul. Now, Paul was a super important leader in the early church. Thousands of years ago, he went around telling people about Jesus and starting churches. He would send letters to churches he had started or to other people who were following Jesus to encourage and teach them. And what's cool is that we can read those letters today because they're all recorded in the Bible. Now, the letter we're going to look at was written to a church in a town called Thessalonica. It's a fancy word, huh? Paul had actually been driven out of Thessalonica by people who weren't super excited about the church growing. They called Paul a liar. They spread rumors about him. They treated him terribly. And how did Paul respond? Well, with this letter. He needed to remind the people in Thessalonica what was actually true. He wanted to help this church get through all the challenges that they were facing. Remember, it wasn't easy to be a follower of Jesus back then. Christians were often mistreated, just like Paul was. And that's why I think we can learn a lot about moving on from Paul. He was treated unfairly. He was betrayed and lied to and heartbroken and wrong. But if you keep following his story, you'll discover that Paul was able to move on. How? Well, let's take a look at what he wrote. Make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong, but always strive to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. Like Paul, the Jesus followers in Thessalonica were being treated badly for following Jesus. It would have been totally normal for them to want to repay the evil that was being done to them. But here, Paul challenged them not to do that. He encouraged them to stop the cycle of wrong for wrong. Instead, he wanted them to focus on what was good, not just for them, but for everyone. Now, let's think about what this might mean for you. Now, I've got a pair of my sister's shoes back here. And here's the thing. My sister wears an 8.5, and I wear a size 10, so they're clearly gonna be too small for me, right? But let me see if I can even try to put them on my feet. Let's see if that'll work. All right, they already hurt, but I'm gonna see if I can walk around in them a little bit. Ouch, my toes! This hurts, guys. The longer I wore those shoes, the more damage I'm doing to my feet. I bet if I wore those long enough, I'd have blisters, sores, cramped toes. Basically, I'd have a really, really bad time. When we let go of what's hurting us, we can start to live without the distraction of pain and hurt. We can walk forward in a healthier way. So, what if you decided to throw away that old pair of tight shoes? What if you chose to let go of what's hurting you for the good of everyone, including yourself? Now, I know that probably sounds like a really difficult thing to do, and that's because it is. It's not easy to choose to let go of the pain someone has caused us, and it's not easy to want to do what's good for someone who has hurt us. It's not easy to let go of the grudge that we might be holding on to. But like Paul said, if we want to break the cycle and move on from it, we have to try. In other words, we have to forgive. Why? Because when you don't forgive, it hurts you. Now think about this. The anger, the hurt, the pain you feel about that thing you were thinking about earlier, remember that thing? Is it possible that you're allowing those things and the people who caused them to have power over you? But they're not the ones feeling it. You are. You're the one dealing with it every single day. And that means that you have the power to stop it. If you want to break the cycle you feel like you're stuck in, then you have the choice to let it go, to move on, to forgive. Because when you don't forgive, it hurts you. Look, this is hard because sometimes the person who hurt us never apologizes. Maybe they didn't even acknowledge how they hurt us, or maybe they don't know that they hurt us. Maybe they don't even really care about how it made us feel. And if that doesn't seem fair to you, then you are right. It's not. But remember, forgiveness is about what's good for all, and that includes you. Forgiving that other person helps you. It's good for you, and it helps you to be more like Jesus. So even if they never apologize or get punished or even acknowledge that they hurt you, choosing to forgive will help you move on, and that's important. Now, if you're having a hard time moving on because someone has hurt you physically or even abused you, that is not okay. First, I want to say I'm sorry that you're dealing with that because it's not right. Forgiveness never makes what they did right. Please hear me when I say that while forgiveness can still help you in this situation, moving on does not mean you have to never speak up. In fact, I'd say that part of forgiveness for you starts with speaking up and telling someone that you can trust about what's going on. Speaking up isn't telling on someone or trying to get them in trouble. It's loving yourself enough to keep yourself and others safe. If that's the situation you're in, I encourage you to tell your small group leader, your parent, or another adult you trust today. They want to get you the help that you need to make sure you're safe and healthy to move on. See, what we all have to remember is that forgiveness takes more than a moment. It doesn't magically make everything better. Paul had to make the choice to forgive more than once. Sometimes he had to do it over and over and over again. He had to forgive even when it didn't feel good right away and even when it wasn't what they deserved. But he did it because he knew it was ultimately good for his own good. And that's the same choice we can make too, because when you don't forgive, it hurts you. So, what can we do to help ourselves move on? Here are 4 things that I want you to try this week. 1, be honest about how you feel. It's okay to be hurt or upset or angry by what someone else has done. It's okay to be sad or disappointed or feel like something is unfair. Pretending that these feelings aren't there doesn't make them go away. We can allow ourselves to feel these things and still move forward in a healthy way. 2, remember that everyone is worthy of forgiveness. No matter what we do in our lives, God constantly forgives us. When we mess up, when we have regrets, when we feel guilt or shame for something that we've done, God's forgiveness is always freely given to us. God offers grace, even when we don't deserve it. So when you're feeling like you've made a mistake, remember that you're worthy of and offered forgiveness, but it goes further than that. We're called to do the same for others. Just as God forgives us, we can try to forgive other people who've wronged us, because no matter what they've done, the truth is that they're God's creation, and that makes them worthy of forgiveness too. 3, that's 7. Choose to move on. You can decide to move on from the hurt you're holding on to and make a choice to move toward forgiveness. This can look a lot different for all of us. Choosing to move on doesn't always mean you have to run up and tell someone, "I forgive you." It doesn't have to be something that you talk about at all. It could be something you do simply for yourself. Maybe you write a letter that you never send to the person who hurt you to get all of your thoughts and feelings out. Maybe you pray for them. Maybe you end that prayer by telling God, "I forgive them and I'm letting it go." Or maybe that means that you have a hard conversation with someone, or you take a step back from the relationship, or you talk to an adult about what you're feeling. Whatever this looks like for you, know that moving on is a choice you're making to help you move forward. 4, repeat. Move forward over and over and over and over again. Remember, forgiveness takes more than a moment. It's a process. It's a decision you have to keep making. And it doesn't magically make everything better. Sometimes things get better, and sometimes they don't. But when you keep choosing to forgive, you're doing what's good for everyone, starting with yourself. We all have things that we need help moving on from, and it's important to talk about how to do that with people that we trust. That's actually why we have groups. Your group is a place where you can process the things that you need to help you choose forgiveness. It's the place that you could take that first step towards moving on. So today, I want to encourage you to be honest with your group about how you feel about forgiveness. I promise you that you'll be glad you did. Remember, when you don't forgive, it hurts you.
All right, guys, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the video. I just have 3 small group questions for you that you can pause the video after I'm done asking. You can discuss with your parents or your siblings, or maybe you have a friend that you're watching with. Okay, question number 1. What is one way that a junior high might respond when someone hurts them? Question number 2 is, why is it sometimes hard to forgive people? Question number 3 is, how might choosing not to forgive someone, how might that hurt us? All right, like I said, you can pause the video if you want. You can discuss with your friends or your family, whoever's around you. All right, guys, that is it for week 5 of October, and that is it for our first week of our series, Moving On. I hope to see you again in November at some point. Enjoy your Halloween tonight.